Hello, people. I'm going to go just describe something that's information that's come through, that you're now aware of, a bit more, so I can share perspective. The other day I did notice it, but I did try to do a short on TikTok. But I notice sometimes now when you do these 10-minute videos or do a long one, 7 minutes or something, you finish and it just doesn't upload. So there seems to be sometimes issues, technical, other people are saying as well, with uploading like longer videos on TikTok, 10-minute or 7-minute videos. So I was going to share this because I saw it going around and I saw people weren't aware. It's just a level of perception, really, that people aren't really aware of what they're listening to. Because there's a lot of channels out there now, channeling. There's a lot of channeling out there. So people are listening and following and who to listen to and not understanding, first of all, going within what really, the reality is. So if you understand what you are and what reality is, then it makes a difference. But if you don't, you're going to every story that's shared you believe is real and not understanding it's a perception and perspective. Anything coming even from our galactic family, people take it as literal, but it's a perception and perspective viewed through that lens of whatever game and past and history that story holds. Different energies too. It's interesting. So anyway, I'll share. So basically the earth, people know what you are. You're not, as I always tell you, you're not your thoughts at all. You're not the body, any of this. It's an imagined story you're watching. You are that formless, as you feel, this infinite field. You are this energy, this infinite field that's aware. And everything is going on within that field. And each thing is just a different bandwidth. They're different stories. They're different bandwidths. That's all that you're tapping into, literally. So, like right now, all that blah, 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 and any voice you hear is part of the Earth story. There's different levels of it, different dimensions. But it's just, and it doesn't exist. As anyone that's fully awake, they'll tell you there's absolutely nothing here. That's the highest so far, perception and perspective, experience or reality that any human it's happened on Earth. When it all absolutely pops, the individual, there's no soul, there's no individual anything. When that bubble pops, you are then that field. That's it. There's just a field of energy that's moving. There is nobody there. And what they tell you, people get upset when they say there is no you, there's no one. There's no separation, there's nothing. It's very true. There isn't any at that level. And so far, no one's been above that level. That's the highest level of, let's say, awareness, truth of the self that you can get to, so far, anyway. Which is nothing and no one, just the field itself that exists. When you pop any separation, even a soul idea of a soul separation. Anyway, so why I'm sharing this as a guidance, because I happened to come across a video, of course, an accident, on YouTube, where someone shared a video of a couple of people being channeled. There was a lady channeling supposedly a ninth dimensional Palladian. There was someone channeling a Lyran. There was obviously someone channeling one of the Sasanis. You could tell. You could pick it up. So there was obviously an event, and there's a few of them going around, and people are watching all of these, but people are not going in themselves. You've got to go in. You see, stop looking out and go within. That's the most important thing. So you understand you and go to, for you before you start listening to everything else, because then you don't understand what's going on here in the first place. So any thought you hear within, external within, let's say within, because it's all just reflections out there. Anything that appears in the so-called empty space, which you think is a mind, it's just thoughts, as you know. Now that is the story. So when you are believing and you're now focusing on the earth plane, you are now picking up the collective story. So that's really what it is. It's a collective story. It's consciousness, as they say. It's like when you focus on the thoughts of mind, it looks like a vortex, like wormholes. There's a pyramid shape going this way or that way. That's all it is. When you focus in it and you listen to it, that energy, that source, that field becomes that. So anyway, it's a lot of thoughts, and they're just archetypes. It's just thoughts that now become archetypes. So here's the best way to try and explain before I get into the galactic thing, so people can understand then and differentiate. And then don't just listen to everything they say, because you've got to understand it's their story through their lens and their perspective. It doesn't mean it's a truth, because there isn't any. They are stories, what you call timelines. They are stories. It's like any book. It's like going to a library and picking up storybooks about, the Princess and the Pea or Cinderella or whatever. That's all it is. You are choosing as a consciousness to decide, okay, I'm going to tune into that story. And then the consciousness will experience that story. That's what you call timelines. So on Earth, it's just like a storybook. Think about it. We've got a kings, that's why our storybooks, and a queens, and this and that, and bad, and and all these, because you really sunk into the depth of exploring polarity. So people are frightened of their own shadow. There is nothing but you. So everything that appears, so-called appears, are thoughts, are archetypes. So you have tuned into a bandwidth. You are observing it as source. You are the observer of all these so-called forms. Let's say, I'm trying to explain this. The level of when the bubble pops, there's no experience. That's the highest level. There's a few, what they call radical non-duality. That's it. There's no more game going on now. You're resting as the self. It all vanishes. But just before that, you at that level before you, when you want to say over soul or soul, there's any separation, you are in the game still. So now you are choosing to be, there's a separation. So there's a person, a soul, whatever it is, right? You are tuning into this, you will see it as a holographic, it's this energy. You are tuning in, you're seeing it as a holographic game, see-through, depending on the level, yeah. Anyway, so then that's when the story is still, you're focusing on the story. So you're tuning in now to which you actually are, the consciousness. You are this field, you're not in the field. And this is why you're picking up all the noise, let's say. Any thought that appears, it just keeps going because it's there to play with. So it says I or you, there isn't any. So, whatever it says me, I, you, just ignore it. Those are just exactly for you to claim. It's so you can play. So you can play a character, but there isn't any. You see? So that's how the body appears. Now, I am this archetype. I'm a mother. I'm a father. I'm a this. I'm a that. I'm a whatever. Good, bad. I mean, there's all these stories. That's what they are. They're just thoughts, archetypes. So you're tuning into the whole thing. What you're listening to, all that noise, is a collective consciousness. It's the earth story. All these thoughts. That's why you can tune in all these archetypes, ideas, beliefs, whatever. But if you just ignore all of it, any of the so-called stories, voices, words you're hearing, and just understand they're arising in your consciousness. You're seeing them. They're just thoughts that appear, actually. And then that vortex, as they tell you, starts to fade away, and then, the whole, you can observe without being in the story so much and caught in it, because that whole vortex of energy will start subsiding when you're not focusing on it, because that's just in the mind space, that energy. And as I say, it's infinite. It can go on to, because the story is dimensions, planets, that's what you can tap into. There's not other lives. You're tapping into other stories, frequencies, radio waves. Think of them as radio waves. You're just tuning into this planet and that story in different, as I say, there's no time. So what a lot of people are not realizing, I saw this, is that they haven't resolved all the stories they've played. Not understanding. So especially if you want to say starseeds, when you see people that are very attached to a story, I'm a Pleiadian, I'm a this, I'm a that, whatever else, they are tuning into one of the stories, past, present, future, or archetype, and that's it. So they're choosing to play that, and they really believe there are those characters or those beings or whatever else, or that's the path they're choosing. So they're choosing, I'm going to play this or I'm going to play that, whatever future. That's all. They have chosen a path and a story. I'm going to connect with this story. There are so many of them out there, even on the ET thing. And if you listen carefully, you will hear Bashar even tell you, whatever version of Earth, which is whatever story you choose to adopt, which you call a timeline, versions of a story, that's the version of history they'll give you. As he says, depending on the version of Earth that you're going to interact with, if you've chosen any of that, somehow not even choosing that, someone choosing not, they will not experience in any story of any galactic family, because they're not choosing to experience that story. So what it is, a whole lot of archetypes, a whole lot of consciousness. Let's see, fractals. There isn't any, but let's say forms now, because that's archetypes, are going to now decide who we're going to play. There's a lot of them going on there, different Earth stories of good and not so positive things, stories. Wow. It's just stories. People have identified with, a character in the story, believing it's them. So even Bashar tells you, I'll tell you a story of my people. There's only stories here. As I'll say, everything's Maya. There's only stories. So depending on the version of whatever you believe, the version of Earth, and who they're good and these ones are bad ones and these are, whatever. They're all sources, all archetypes. So whatever story version you're believing into, there's good ETs, there's bad ETs. Oh, there's this, there's that. These are the good ones, whatever. That's the version of Earth. You are choosing then to all, let's see how many you can gather together to agree with you, and off you will go and play. If there's enough of you, you will go off and play that experience of, whatever. And that's the version, as you see, of Earth. The history you'll be given if you choose to interact with them. You will have a positive experience if you believe, they are, or a bad one, or whatever it is. This is all it is. It's subscription reality, not a joke. So the idea is to unsubscribe and to be observer, to unsubscribe, so you're not getting attached. Because this is what I saw. People are, listening to these channelers and believing everything they say as though it's absolutely like factual reality, like it's fact. No, that's it not, because they are this dimensional. So whatever they say this is reality. There isn't one reality. Even they have their own timelines and versions of their stories. It's just, as I say, it's subscription. You've got to also see it from their lens. There's a lot we have a lot to offer them. And this is why in the story, the Earth and the galactic are coming together, because we have a lot of value. You think, oh my gosh, we have an immense amount, because Source, the One, loves itself, loves the game, doesn't matter what version it is. So it always looks what's best for itself. So having the Earth, now humans, mixed with the galactic family benefits all. For the highest good for all. Why? Because if you listen to them, even if you listen to Paul Selleck's channel, much higher channeling from them, because they're telling you you are nothing. Stop listening to anything. There's no story. You're not any of it. And that's how it can be reseen. You are the divine itself, as the gurus will tell you. This is what Paul Selleck. But if you listen to the energy, there is no compassion and no empathy. So in their story, some of these ET stories, they were born, they had lots of other abilities, but they did in different stories exactly. They didn't develop, they lack something to do with their story, just whatever their story was playing, empathy and compassion. And you can hear it in their voice. You can hear it when they channel. There's no empathy and compassion. Some of it's entertaining, but there's no judgment. But this just is it. So now, if they mix with us, first of all, they're learning a lot. As I'm saying, the difference between us and them is immense in the stories. Human story, what humans are, the characteristics, emotions, because they don't have these things. They don't have some of these things. It's a different story. So by them mixing with us, there's a huge benefit for both. If you don't believe everything, if you just say, wow, that's it, if you see it as a perception and perspective and not as the truth, they say there isn't any truth. Everything is just imagined stories. So then you can healthily mix with each other without taking on anything as, oh my gosh, this is it. Because if you even listen to the Bashar or channeling from that side, from any of the greatest, stories, fractures, whatever. They also, as I say, you can also see their projection where they say, they destroyed their version of Earth. So they see us, going down the same path. It's a projection of consciousness. You see, it's unresolved. This is their shadow they're projecting. because there's no set realities. If you believe you're going to destroy your earth or your climate, wherever, that's what you create. As the gurus will always tell you, believe in nothing. Everything is perfect and divine. Everything is you, and that's how the reality will transform itself. And you, as they say, you will see everything as you, and everything will be perfect and divine. You will find yourself in the Garden of Eden, literally, as they tell you, it is here, it exists. So it's because that's exactly what you choose. So remember, you're choosing a story, and reality will conform to that. Because that's what you're doing. You're taking your consciousness through the tunnel of thoughts, and that's exactly what will appear. You're creating a story. So whatever the ETs are telling you, as I listen to some of the stuff, that's interesting. Nothing can affect you unless you believe it can. So there was stories going around about beings trying to negatively control, or where people are fearing your own shadows. And maybe this was in their path, their stories, their history, you see. Everything's out there. You can subscribe to anything and everything. It's archetypal beliefs, but nothing can affect you. You must understand, everything is you. And if you hold that vision and perspective and you don't judge anything, nothing will have any impact, because it's just a choice. It's just, okay, there we are. It's literally, it's source consciousness taking on the form of that thought, that archetype. Oh my gosh. There we are. So if you say any of it is wrong or bad, even an energy, emotion, you tune out of the earth games, I say, they don't have any of those. They don't experience anything. So it's literally a subscription-based reality. See, that's all. It's interesting, actually. So if you stop tuning into any of it, even this, character, stories, the thoughts, and you just stay as the infinite space, and then you can observe the story, which is why the earth story is going to change. It needs it anyway, because it was to say, wow, a lot of anyway. And then anything that appears, any thought that appears, just understand that's what it is. Just understand it's a thought appearing, because it's all they are. This infinite field pops up, and you can choose, oh, okay, yeah, I'm that one, and I select that one. That's all you're doing, and you're creating a story out of them. That's it. And the field then takes the form of that, the mind, the vortex, how you feel that energy. As they say, manifestation, you're pulling that towards you or away from you, or you just, ignore them. But you've got to understand that's, it can benefit humanity, as that young lady, I think it was Magdi, I shared her, she's now pulled that from the field very wisely. From a nice level, neutral level, she pulled that from the field, and you understand the source. It's exactly a lovely story. Well, there we are. She wrote a lovely story, and this is from Source's perspective, from love. You see, because from a place of love, it will benefit if you understand this from a higher perspective, and don't look there again as, if you're not tapped in, you just don't realize what you are, and then you will idolize and see some beings as better, higher. Nothing is. It's just a different story. You're none of them. Any of them, even this. They're just different archetypes and different stories. You see? So then you can listen to them, and you can share, and you can see, oh, that's interesting perspective. And you don't take out everything they say as literal or real or true. You've got to understand this is a projection of consciousness, as any game you're playing, is exactly what they're doing. They are projecting a story and a reality. So just because whatever they tell you about, that's one timeline, their story, their doesn't matter what dimension they're in, it's a different story playing, that's all. So it has a different story, a different narrative past, but it's all story. Anything that has a soul in it, a being in it, a thing in it is story. As I say, Maya, illusion. At the ultimate, there's the field. That's it. If you get there and you pop that, it's like, all stories come to an end. There's no, as I say, there is nothing. There's no space for anything to exist. There's one field of energy, which is no separation, and there's no even appearance of separate bodies in it. The field is literally taking on it's forming. Like, I can't explain it. You can't, as I say, it's unexplainable. If you see it, you cannot explain it to anybody. You cannot describe it. There's no ways you can describe that reality, the ultimate reality, to anyone. It's just undescribable. It's like, okay, that's it. And this is what the archetype, because it's believed it's a real, is so frightened of soul, separate self, whatever you want to call it, is so terrified of disappearing, because it disappears. It wants to carry on living as a story, as a being. I'm a soul, I'm a this, I'm a that, whatever. And then you're playing another thing. I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm a mermaid, I'm an E.T., I'm a whatever. It's all stories, okay? It's all stories. There's only one field. So if you understand that, then it's a healthy way to interact with our galactic family. You see? And it's not, then you're not going to idolize them and believe everything they say is real. Because as I'm saying, a lot of the greys are projecting this doomed planet, climate change, whatever else thing, on a lot of people as well. It's stories they didn't resolve. Like you have, so-called karma, stories that keep repeating, this vortex that you keep, choosing over and over again, that are cycling around. This is exactly what they are doing, you see. Oh, we don't want to see that happen because we did that, you see. So they're projecting their fears. We destroyed our planet, so we're trying to stop you doing it. It's a story. If you believe that, that's what you will actually create. Same as that summing split experiment. There's nothing will happen if you have no projection, you're not projecting anything onto anything. You're just being. The field will just be. The minute you're expecting an outcome, you're projecting something out there. That's what you like, looking for evidence of physical reality. It's going to keep showing up. It's just an infinite field. It'll take the form and shape. There's only thoughts because there's only consciousness. So thoughts then become things. You see, the field takes a shape and you put that energy onto it. That's why also when we say there's good and bad, you say out of it there isn't any. They don't even have emotions. You see, you just labeled them that for the game. There's no good or bad anything. And if we take the label away, we won't even experience feeling. You see, you won't have, as I tell you, negative, don't label anything negative because you can experience it as a negative experience. But what they're not telling you as well is thoughts. If you're saying that's a negative thought, that's a positive, that's a good feeling, that's a bad, it's also illusion. You see? So then you can experience it as a negative emotion. It's all subscription. Everything is absolutely thumbsucked. So what I saw was a lot of people listening to these channels, and then I saw this, you see, there's a collective story going around. Oh my gosh, we've got a war going on. No, you just got to face your own shadow. You're fighting yourself. You see? You're fearing the shadow you created. That's a good and that's bad and that's all you are. You're fearing your own archetypes, your own stories, your own shadows, your own thoughts. You're saying they are good and they are bad. And that's what you experience, you see. So if you don't label anything, because everything is you, then that's it. So same with you can, we're having a battle. That's what you'll create, a battle of good and bad, and and these are stories, absolutely. So you saw this going around which didn't resonate because you went through that years ago, that that's the level you were at. So you did that whole thing a couple of years ago, so you didn't buy into the story. No, there's a battle for the no, you're fighting yourself. Who are you fighting? Nothing can affect you if you don't believe it. And as the gurus will tell you, there's only one here, all is source, right? So then who's the bad and who's the good? Those are just archetypes, those are roles, those are thought forms, actually, which you have labeled them, so they have to take that shape, because that's, as they tell you, everything takes on the form and the shape of whatever you focus on and believe. The feel then takes on that form and shape. Oh, okay, you say it's going to be this. I'm sick. All right. Well, okay, you say I'm a bad thing, and you say I'm a fox. But they tell you, stop labeling things. And seeing it as other, stay as the field, as the gurus say, and all will come back to nothing. Because now you're not saying it has to be something, or it's a tree. Other planets that don't even have some of these things on their planets. You see, it's imagined. Well, there we are, you see. There's a reason why you're on here in the morning in your pajamas. Some people take offense to that, but anyway, when you were sitting here, didn't sleep much last night at all. Wow, so much there's so much activity in there. Wow, so much energy, and so wow, the world was very busy last night. It was just a lot of noise. So sitting quietly this morning and just resting. And you knew this was there because it's been there for a while. And I was going to share the other day, 10 minutes, just a short one on this, because I realized people were saying, oh my gosh, there's other beings trying to negatively influence. Well, then there we are. You've chosen that story as a reality, and then you can only experience that. But who's the other beings? There's nothing besides you. Nothing has power over you. Every single thing is is imagined, subscribed story. Whether it's an ET story, whether it's a story of this one, an angel, everything. It's one field, takes the form of everything. Oh, an angel, okay, no, it's a good guy, it's a this, it's a whatever. All right, interesting. Interesting. There we are. So, okay. I did try to make a short the other day, but it wouldn't. You do that. A lot of people experiences that. You record a video, but also it's what it is, because it's a story, that you'll find there's more and more people on this journey of their awakening, of going, remembering who they are, dropping the stories. This is the idea. And as you do that, if you're isolated, as the story is, the character has to act or say, speak it out. So if there's no one around you to share your point of view with, or speak it into being, whatever path the character is supposed to do, then what you will do is find yourself making a video. It doesn't necessarily have to be shared. It's just you talking the truth out there, you see, sharing the character, sharing its reality, There we are. And then that's why, all of a sudden you see the video disappears. It doesn't need to be shared. It's just, Yes. There isn't any. There's a field. And if you're choosing to believe that you are in the field, in the story as a person, then you're going to be selecting a story. You see? That's it. But you can ignore all of it. Well, that's quite something there, because there's a resistance, as I tell you. The separate energy does not want to vanish. It's been around a long time. It's been playing many lives. Your believed soul, the so-called, there isn't a separate one. But that there's source. There's one unbroken, non-separated consciousness. Field, source. It observes everything. That's why all is seen. All the separate forms are seen. All the thoughts. Well, if you go inside, there's no separate forms. There's no body. You can see that. There's nothing. They are only thoughts, right? That's what the reality is made up of. And then they're energized and believed in. A story is chosen, and they appear so-called externally. You see. But as those have stopped subscribing to any story, which when you call radical non-dual, will tell you there's nothing. There's no you. There is no you. People don't like to hear that. There's nothing. And people get upset, literally. Because it's like, no, I like my story. What do you mean there's no me? I don't exist. So there we are. So then, then they play soul. And then, as I say, the level below that, as Bashar talks about, is where you see everything as a holographic reality and a story. And you got a life, and this is happening, and you're going somewhere, and you're going to a higher dimension and a higher dimension. But that's all part of the story. And I'm at 9th, and I'm at this, you see. So when you listen to any story being shared, doesn't matter what perspective or dimension, you got to understand it's all a story. It's like subscription. So it's like going, literally try and say it like that. Then it'll be easier for you to move through reality. And whatever you call, you label as true, as good or bad, is exactly what you will experience, whether even it's an emotion or a thought. You see, think about it. If you didn't label that you wouldn't experience it as a negative emotion or negative thought. That's a word. What's negative? What's positive? You are creating those experiences. You can have a neutral experience, but you don't experience anything as negative or positive, as they say. It's literally you. The forms are also believed in. You see, it's like, thought forms, archetypes, really. Energized, and then they appear as people. But that can pop. Doesn't like it, though. Yeah, it's a story. So now you understand, because I say people are also doing that because they say they haven't enough work, so then they're idolizing people and channels and, oh my gosh, whatever they say is absolute truth, you see. But you've also got to understand there is no absolute truth in existence. There are different frequencies and different stories, and even they've got, there's different bandwidths. It's just a story. So according to their story, I listened to these channels the other day. I found it very interesting. I listened to these 4. It was a lady channeling some Palladian, 9th dimensional Palladian. Interesting. And then a Lyran, and you could see it was one of Bashar's collective. Even, as I say, even Paul Selig's collective. Listen to them. You can feel there's no compassion and empathy there. Because in their stories, their beings, their bodies, or weren't designed like that or didn't experience that. So this story that's coming together now in different timelines or different versions of it, of where Earth and galactic families, if we don't, we accept them all. If we just are happy to interact with them all without siding with any one. Don't side with any, choose like these group over the others. All the galactics, if we just happy to interact and listen to their stories and perspectives as an interesting perception and perspective. Don't take it as, oh my gosh, that's very beneficial, because we'll have a lot it's very interesting to share, and all can benefit from each other. From things, as I noticed, they don't have genetics and emotions and things they don't have, perceptions, technologies, whatever, can be useful if you understand it, and then you can more freely choose. You see, you can now choose things from a higher level, because when you understand it is all perception and perspective and a story. So we don't say, oh my gosh, there's this timeline with the ETs, and then, oh no, we can only choose this one, and we're only going to listen to the Palladians, and only listen to whatever, and these are good and those are bad. It's all nonsense. There isn't any good or bad at all. But if we see them all as neutral, you see, and they understand their perception and perspective is colored by their experience, which you're beginning to see, Bashar's experience. Oh my gosh, you're doing what we did, and you're going to mess up your planet. They did it. If you're seeing what's going on out here, you understand exactly. Those that are not seeing it, that are understanding, if you're in the mind, you see, as I said, cycles. You see it all cycles around, because that's all it is. It's the mind, it's stories, energies. But if you let them all relax, they'll all collapse. If you don't listen to any of it anymore, you just don't even observe. You don't put your focus on it. The field is immense, past it. So you see the vortex, the mind vortex, you can feel that energy. Now you put your focus outside of it and let it just settle down. So all we're doing is tuning into different radio stations. So this radio station broadcast from that so-called dimension or timeline, because they also have, as I say, there's versions of Earth that didn't destroy themselves, and and Atlantis that's still going, and This is another thing, if you pay attention, you'll see there's different stories about Lemuria. Oh, it's a real place. No, it's not. It's an energy. Yes, it existed here. No, it didn't. So different ETs, different channelers are also giving you very different stories about what Lemuria is or was. Oh, it's in the future. No, it's in the past. It was here. It was land. No, it was an energetic grid. Do you understand? If you pay attention, not go into the stories, and you'll see the same thing. As there's channels. This is what happens when you're not focusing in enough, and you're following the collective again. You see, this is it's a habit of, if you believe you're a person, you're going to follow the collective. So now the collective, let's say, there's different people are following certain channels or certain podcasts or certain, like Gaia TV or this and that. This is just a perception. It's the same thing. Everyone's trying to get you to buy into their story. This is the truth. This is the past. This is what happens. If you step back, and you will see many people saying, oh, this Teteria and the world was flooded, and others are saying, oh, there's this. They are seeing different pasts. There's no, then you really got to, then you, if you step back enough and stop and sit quietly, you'll realize there is no set past, and there is no set future. There is no set truth, no set anything. And the highest, as the highest will tell you, there's nothing. There's no you. That's the most difficult one. And let me tell you, the fear that arises, that's what they'll tell you, before that bubble pops, is immense fear, because this character, this so-called believed separate one, soul, whatever, is terrified, so believed it is real. It's very frightened of its disappearance, because it does, everything that's said disappears. The separation, the story, the Maya completely comes to an end. There is not, as I tell you, no space. There's nothing, literally. There's only the field. It's just energy, and it's just moving. And there is no cause and effect. Absolutely not even a story. That's the real truth. So then you won't worry about, you will see everything out there that's being shared, but it doesn't matter what it is and who it is, as selective reality. And you're not going to get also pulled into the collective. It's like now, tapping into the collective field, which is, the old story, unawakened story, is a lot of delusion and a lot of fear and a lot of projection. But then also there, you've got Gaia. People are trying to guide you, tell you this is the truth, you see. And people are not understanding, no, it's not truth. It's my version of truth. It's my story that I'm choosing to believe in. And I'm trying to convince you that this is the truth, and this is the past, and this is what happened, whatever. It doesn't matter, as I say. People are going to choose. Now, what you see as timelines is exactly that. You are seeing different stories. Of course, they'll be at different frequencies, because they have different pasts and futures and beliefs. Some are not so pleasant. But if you're believing anything has control or over you, or better, always, are you giving your power away again? You're seeing, which is a part of this. Yeah, it's in the human story to idolize someone, or put a king up there, or put someone up there, or religion or something. You see, something is better, more powerful than me. Because if you believe you are the character, which is also a thought form, it's an archetype. That's all it is. Anyway, there we are. And maybe spend more time sitting in the quiet and tuning out of everything, even including like this. What's being shared here is, who knows, a perspective and story, which sometimes these things are guided to come out and share. Only one here, same one, exactly. The field wants to share this, and there we are. So sometimes this is coming out there. Mostly here it's coming out from neutrality, so people are able to see and choose. Okay, so then they're not so influenced. If you understand you have a choice, subscribe. You don't have to subscribe to Gaia's truth, to Bashar's truth, to whatever, whoever you're listening to, whatever channeler, same thing, you see. Because those archetypes and those stories, whatever that, as I said, that energy, when it hasn't popped, it is a soul, it's played many lives, many stories, it's integrated, and those all, it's a filter of some kind. It's a perception and perspective. Every single thing that's shared here, now right now, is a perception and perspective. But here, it's for some reason what gets shared here is a perception and perspective, which is making them aware or more neutral. So people then are aware of, oh, okay. You see, it's an empowering thing. It shares, this body is always guided to share things like that, so people are able to see, no, it's a choice. It's not right or real or whatever. It's interesting, I mean, because there isn't any reality. So, I mean, I find it fascinating to listening to these teachers. Some are more awakened than others, as I say. But ultimately, there is no body. Not even an oversoul, a soul. It's still another separation. There's still something else and source. It's an archetype. It's a being. So everything in the story. There's dimensions. There's timelines. It's a story. The one loves, and it doesn't matter. It's just there's any consciousness. There's an infinite field. So all thoughts, as they say, create your reality, are stories, are archetypes. Every thought. But the first one is the I. You've got to understand that's also not real. But it gives you, there has to be something if you want to create a separation to play. And then after that, as I say, comes a story. I am, a mother. I am a doctor. I am an ET. I'm a Palladian. I'm a blah, blah, blah. But just understand this, though. Everything's neutral until you label it. Because then you are creating a difference between you, the field, and something. Oh, it's a thought, it's a me, it's a person, it's a negative, it's a good, it's a bad. Even the energy. If you don't label any energy as that, you can't even have a negative experience from it, from a so-called emotion or a thought or something, you see. I've noticed that. That's interesting. If you pull back from the field and you don't label or judge anything. Because if you know that, without the fact that you are, as they say, God is all, there's no you, there's only it. So every single time you choose anything, a thought, you label anything as other, please understand that's what you'll experience, okay? So then it makes it easier for you and less fearful because you understand everything. The earth, you can unsubscribe to governments, you can unsubscribe to any story, any part, and it'll disappear, which is happening. You see that. That's sort of, the earth game's changing, where you can, we choose, we don't want that. See, you just drop it from your story. A lot of these old things are being dropped. Story's changing, obviously. But that's why I'm saying at the moment, it's just going through. It's interesting. So you can see then they're vying for which collective. So people obviously are trying, or they're influencing themselves and characters, trying to vie for your attention and get you to believe my version of the story is the real reality. And this is the truth of the past. This is the truth. There is none. Absolutely none. And then that will give you the freedom to choose. So just remember, the thoughts are not your enemies either. That's what they're there for, the story. Some just have more charge and more belief. So every thought is a thought form, becomes an archetype. Oh, it's a person. Oh, no, it's an ET. I'm a tree. I'm a this. Nothing. You remove all labels. Ultimate reality, as they say, shines through. See, you can just become the observer even of the story. Here. All the different fields, you're aware of all these different bandwidths. It's really my best actually understanding. It's why it's so interesting. Humans love storybooks, stories. And this is where we have storybooks. It's stories, literally imagined stories. Cinderella, ba ba ba. We love this. This is exactly what it is. Reality, it's a reality, no, the Maya is made up of stories. Or you think like used to like in the old days listening to radio stations, that's all they're doing. So understand every being you're channeling, it doesn't matter what it is, who it is, that's it. It's a version, a story, and this is why there's so many different experiences. There's different, how many, if you really pay attention, you will see this then. Because many beings on different channels will tell you, oh, Lemuria is this, Lemuria is that. No, it doesn't. Yes, it is. It was there. It's here. It was sunk. It, blah, 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 blah. Then you, different versions of Earth. No, there wasn't. Yes, there was. That happened. This didn't. So just understand, there we are. Yeah. You don't have to give your power to anyone. Understand everything you hear is optional. That's it. You don't have to, because it isn't, you are the field. You can choose any story, archetype, belief, and that's a radio station more and more you will tune into, and there we are. And then as consciousness, those collectives will create versions, of, they say, exactly, of Earth to experience. Those archetypes will experience what you call timelines, 8 stories. All right. So then you don't have to, you can listen to any channel, whether it's galactic or not, from a neutral standpoint, as a perception and a perspective, like somebody reading you a story. There we are. They're reading you a story and you can decide, nah, that's not a nice story. I don't want to experience that. Because that's all it is. It's a conscious experience. If you choose to focus on it or a character, then you're going to create an experience of a reality. You see, the body, which is in the so-called, there's a body in it and it's experiencing. But at altar, you can pop that, but that's, yeah, as I say, that has a lot of, that does not like that idea. You'll notice the resistance to, what do you mean I don't exist? That's the most believed thought. Yeah. But obviously, in order to play a character, there has to be, you know, that's why you'll see me or I, that thought appears. It has the most charge to it because it's the most played thought. In the Maya, you see. So that's why it does not like to dissolve. It's like, nope. You'll see its resistance when they say, what do you mean I don't exist? There's no I. It doesn't like that idea. Yeah, a lot of resistance to that. Wants to keep going, so it'll create dimensions and realities and there's many stories out there. All right, so there we are. It makes it easier for you. So now you will think, listen to it. So when you hear anything out there, just think, I'm listening to a radio station. And remember, even the ET, that's their projection. You see, their story, their version of a story you've tuned into. All right. And that's why you can tap into all these so-called stories, realities, timelines. That's why the sun, it's 6 beings, it's 6 consciousness playing the sun. Ask it, it'll tell you. So now there are 6 energies which have now come together and they are creating the story that they are a planet and they are the sun. It's yeah. 6 archetypes. So basically it's thoughts, reality. If you look inside, what do you see? Nothing. When you go within, you see absolutely nothing. Only thing that appear are thoughts. Believed enough are images, stories. So you can tap into stories. You'll see a picture show. Stories, different timelines, past. There isn't even one past. And if you really have paid enough attention, you listen to them, you'll hear them saying that story of my people, this timeline, that, versions of Earth. When we, you know, depending on when we see you, we'll give you your version of history for your timeline. Because there is no version of a past, a future. You are thumb-sucking it all. Okay. Even the character. Yeah. No, it gives you freedom then. See, because humans are tend to say the collective herd, you see. So I see a lot of people, you see a lot of channels will gather a lot of people because people then will choose it as they don't realize there's a selective truth. Oh my gosh, this is true. And they're frightened. I got to believe that now, that, you know what I mean? They don't believe that. They're the ones creating it. You have a choice. Everything is a choice. So then you won't tend to follow people. You will listen to all, you'll observe all interest, but you won't tend to be like, as I say, a follower. Like, oh my gosh, that person, you'll see that. So it's a habit of that pattern, obviously held there then, believing. So then you're going to follow, oh my gosh, they're the true. And this is, so you've got Bashar worshippers or followers. You've got, but as I said, it's you. It's a character, storyteller, or Gaia, fans and believe that's the only truth, or there's this, or there's that, or I'm believing whatever channeler, this ET, whatever they say they are. It's an archetype. It's a story. All stories are put out there to choose and share, and none are wrong. You are, well, it's up to you, you see. Anyway. And then you will start seeing more clearly too, because then you're not going to be influenced. You'll see it as like you would, like a story you listen to, like someone to read you a story, or a story you listen to. You don't know it, it's not true, so you listen to it. You can hear it more objectively, like movies. And then when you watch it the second time, you hear a bit more. Different perception, different perspective. So it's like reading a storybook or listening to them. Just listen to it as a story. And then you also won't feel intimidated and frightened, because then you'll understand that you can choose that story. You see, you can then, now you realize you have choice. I can choose. I want to play. If you want to play that story, I'd like to experience as a consciousness that story. It also gives you more freedom then to choose one that you prefer to experience, and not one that you think you haven't got a choice. But yeah, anyway, there we are. Okay. That just felt like it was going to be shared, because I see a lot of people, as I say, I buy into these things and think, well, you don't, because so when you hear these stories going around, you're like, all right, whatever, it's a story that they all bought into and believe it's true and real, but it doesn't resonate. Because if you really get this, why people need to go in, that you are source. Only one exists. This is enough. People have got it, for only one exists. Every single so-called other, you believing it's your daughter, so reality is taking on the form of a child, of your daughter. I'm a mother. So then you see, you are telling poor reality to conform to that shape, to that thing, and that's what it appears. But if you stop telling reality to do anything and you just be, it can just be itself. The truth can, you see. You're not saying it has to conform to a shape. The minute we're choosing a story, a timeline, a person, a thing, reality then, because the field, the energy will take on that shape. Appear as DNA or whatever, whatever, a chair, a table, a tree, a person, a car, blah, 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 blah. There we are. It is interesting. Yeah, you won't be moved. Exactly. It's fascinating. If you understand, it's like it's neutral. Then you can choose without, you see, fascia, fear. People are like, most people are not, because it's really going within. They're listening to too much channeling, and you see, they believe because something from a higher, yeah, but it's not. It's just a phase. It's just a story, as I say. There's nobody here anyway. Yeah, you find it interesting. I mean, I find it fascinating looking at all these non-dual, it's just archetypes, sources, the field expressing as this one, and they are so different, and they have different perspectives and perceptions. It's so interesting. And you're like, wow, that's interesting. They are like, yeah, chalk and cheese, because there's so many awakening, Okay, we're talking about, depending on the level. But as I say, the ultimate so far, who knows, the ultimate level is literally, and that's why people get upset. Those that are still have a soul-based consciousness, you see reality as a holographic story, and there's still people, but you can still see a separation. So you can see forms in the shape of people, let's say, and you can still perceive space and anyway. But that can also go, and then there's actual, as they say, the field shaping right in the time as it goes, moving and morphing. There is no You don't see like holographic people walking around. You see, you are still saying, sorry. Yeah. Yes, it's exactly, it shapes it because you're saying it. Remember, you are the field, you are the reality, the mind. There's only consciousness. So if consciousness is focusing on the thoughts, this is where you can feel the energy in your story. It builds up a vortex, you feel it, you can feel it. Shh. That's why I say you can feel it. You can even exit those. Yeah. And then it's going through them. It moves through them. As they say, you're speeding, time speeds up. No, it's just a vortex you're in. It's a vortex of archetypal thoughts or energies. But if you believe, as I'm saying, as long as we believe they're real and we're focusing on them, it appears as such. That's as simple as that. The field takes on whatever shape and form consciousness believes, says it is. That's what I'm saying. Like you look for something, evidence shows. Like you see the synchronicities, right? You're going to look for something, believe it. That's what they say. Believe that, focus on it. It's going to show up in your reality. Your reality will conform to it. Then that already tells you it's shaping. There's no set reality because it conforms and changes depending on the story, the narrative, the focus, the manifestation you are projecting. And that's why the gurus always tell you there's nothing. So if you don't believe you are doomed. So I say this is interesting perspective if you see it from the greys. Oh, we're finding a version of Earth. We don't want you to go down the same story as we did. So they're also projecting it. You are going to wipe yourselves off and mess up your planet because they did. It's a projection. But this is what came through recently. No, nothing's wrong. Everything is perfect. Everything is divine. Everything is you. Everything. Don't label as a tree. There's just you. There's just source here. Not a tree, not a person. There's only you here. Everything is perfect and divine. So the field will show that. We are in the Garden of Eden. Why project anything negative onto the planet? Why? Because that's what it has to conform to then. You see, you're saying that's why there's different versions of Earth that destroy themselves and don't. You're projecting it. You are saying, oh my gosh, Earth is doomed. So then the field has to conform to that. You're saying it's perfect. It's a Garden of Eden. As many wake up, I'll tell you, the Garden of Eden is here now. Literally, I'm not joking. That experience is here. So any guru, any awakened being will tell you, always when it's fallen away, don't believe, don't say everything is always perfect. No matter what, everything is always perfect, right? And you don't see anything wrong with anything. The field has to conform to that. Here we are. Depending how much charge is the biggest charge behind anything is the I, me thought. Because it's the one that's been around the longest. So to play all these so-called stories and so many past and futures and you see. Yeah. It doesn't like to vanish. That's the most, it has the most charge. And depending on, as I say, what other thoughts and things you've believed in and you've had running for so long. But if you step back, you can feel there's no body here and you just remain as the field. And then it can start to slowly, and you don't label anything as what you're saying out there. You don't label it as anything because you understand it's just, then you can see, then you're really giving reality a chance to be itself. It's not having to be a tree and a car and a this because you said so. Other planets don't have cars. You see? So it's taking on the shape and the form of whatever you're saying, believing, projecting out there. Because that's all it is a thought. Anyway. Oh well, there we are. All right. There we are, it's shared. We did try to make it 10 minutes short, but it didn't work the other day. So now that wanted to come through, it is now shared and whatever. There we are. So you will see also, you believe reality is real, solid, physical, and it keeps on doing that. Oh, my puzzle, I'm getting a puzzle to play here now. And that's what it does, you see. Okay, there we are. Oh, wait, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing here. Nothing sliding. Okay. Oh, it's not working. It's not able to verify, so maybe it wants to knock me off here because the puzzle doesn't want to play along. Sorry, people. There we are. The live is going to do its thing. I don't know what's going on. Sorry. We're playing games with this thing. And it's the puzzle's disappeared now. When I tried to drag it, nothing happened. I don't know why. It wasn't moving. The puzzle just did not respond. So I pushed audio and that's vanished. So there's no puzzle and it wants to end my live. So maybe it just didn't like what I'm... Who knows? Someone's objecting. Who knows? Okay. Whatever. It's irrelevant. All right. It looks like the live is... I can't seem to change it. There's no puzzle. And it's going to end the live. Who knows what's going on here. Sorry, people. All right. I'm going to try and exit. See if that works. If I can even exit here. Everything. The screen's just frozen now. Sorry. The live is frozen. Sorry. I'll see if I can get out of here.